Spring football is not that far away, y'all. We'll do some power rankings, huh? Let's take a look at this whole thing. Now, I want to give a preface. This is pre-spring, meaning subject to change, and these are very much so not predictions, okay? These are power rankings heading into spring football. So we'll probably revisit this and give you an updated list, if you will. But I'm going to give you my top 5 in the SEC as we head into the beautiful reality that is spring football. It's almost here. Winter conditioning is going on right now. You're paying your dues. It is the dark days of college football. If you're a player, spring football is almost here. Finally get to put the pads on, start playing with the rock again. But at number 5 for me, got the South Carolina Gamecocks. They went 8-5 last season. Yet again, overachieving, costing a lot of people in Las Vegas some money. Big Mo is in the building. As director of recruiting for On 3, Chad Simmons likes to say, momentum has arrived in Columbia. They finished the year with back-to-back top 10 wins. In both games, they were double-digit underdogs. Now, on top of that, you bring back Spencer Rattler, you bring back Juice Wells, his favorite target, and you add a Nicholas Harbor, who I would imagine will end up seeing the field early. Coach Beamer says as a wide receiver, there's the whole ain't no telling factor with South Carolina. And what I mean by that, with those two cats coming back, Rattler and Wells, we saw how they finished the year. Ain't no telling what they could do in 2023. Imagine if they take another step. Imagine if they play an entire season, how they finished the year in 2022. That's problems for the SEC. That is problems for the entire country. Because South Carolina just continues to trend upward. They continue to gather steam. They continue to build and progress. Credit Coach Beamer. Credit that locker room. Credit that culture. Because that is phenomenal, especially how the Florida game went for them. The Florida game went they were anemic offensively. They couldn't do anything defensively. And from that game, there was a whole lot of eyeballs on South Carolina saying, what are you going to do now? Essentially got dealt a knockout blow on the chin. Can you get up off the canvas? And they did, to the tune of 2 top 10 wins, like I already told you. So to compete for an SEC title, I think that would take an enormous effort by both Rattler and Wells, like I just told you. But the defense has to improve. The defense has got to take major strides in the spring. They gave up right around 200 yards a game on the ground last season. In the SEC, in the trenches conference, you can't do that and expect to compete for some hardware. So that's the next step for them, in my opinion. But South Carolina, I'm telling you, that ain't no telling factor with them is very dangerous. But for us, they're number 5 on the pre-spring power rankings. They're always dangerous with Coach Beamer at the helm. If you're not yet subscribed, would love to have you lock in with us. We got college football content every single day on this channel, on the show, The Hard Count. We appreciate you in advance for doing so. Also, if you have not yet liked the video, now would be a great time for you to do that. It helps us do more of what you want to see. So go ahead and just click that like. Make sure you're subscribed. All that in a bag of chips. We appreciate you. Follow me on the socials at JD Piquel. Now, at number 4, we're probably going to get some pushback for this, but onward we go. LSU Tigers. And you're saying, how are they not top 2? They competed for an SEC title last year. They were in the big game. They're going into year 2 under Brian Kelly. Jaden Daniels is back. I hear you. All right, I hear you. But again, this is power rankings heading into spring. So these could change. I'm not predicting how LSU is going to finish. For me, for LSU, it's still about the destination. It's still about where they're going to be under Brian Kelly. They're still processing. They're still getting there. They're still developing. Last year, LSU played 4 one-score games. They went 3-1 in those one-score games. All I'm saying is, imagine a couple plays go differently in those 3 games that they won in, 7-win football team. It's not great, right? For me, the consistency factor has to improve at LSU. The Tennessee game left a lot to be desired. The way they finished the year at Texas A&M was extremely disappointing. For LSU, that next step is the culture maturing and processing even more. Now, don't get it twisted. They got a lot under the hood. There is a lot to be excited about at LSU. Like I already told you, Jaden Daniels, if he can take another step as a passer, that would change the entire complexion of LSU. Harold Perkins, he's going to be on a lot of watch lists for different preseason awards that are going to be coming out here in the not too distant future. Like, there's a lot to like about LSU, but the consistency for me and the teams that are ahead of them just make it difficult right now to put them any higher than 4 right now. Not saying they can't do it. Far be it for me to bet against Brian Kelly. But right now, for me, the LSU Tigers, I think 4 is a fair spot to put them. Again, we're going to get pushback, but here we go. At number 3, you got the Tennessee Volunteers. And they beat a team that's ahead of them on this list. 1,000% true. Right now, it's about staying ahead of schedule. You're going into year 3 of the Heupel era, and they talked about it a lot after the Orange Bowl victory. This is just the start. This is just the start. We're building towards more. The bad news, lose your all-everything quarterback, Hendon Hooker. You lose Jalen Hyatt, who I believe just got a nice NIL deal with Hyatt Hotels. So shout out Hyatt for doing the right thing. The good news is I think the offense is going to be fine. Okay? Josh Heupel is a verified wizard when it comes to the offensive playbook that he's got in place there in Knoxville. Joe Milton is the key variable for me for them going forward. Now, is he going to be Orange Bowl Joe that we saw just absolutely tearing up Clemson? Dude was in Uncle Rico mode, just absolutely dropping dimes, making it look effortless. Was like throwing a Nerf football out there. Like, is he going to be that consistently in 2023? Or is he reverting back to what Tennessee fans were concerned about when he was transferring to Knoxville, and what Michigan fans like to scream very loudly from the back row, that struggles with accuracy, he overthrows players, his arm strength is his greatest strength and his greatest weakness? Like, I didn't see that in the Orange Bowl. I'm just telling you that I lean more towards betting on Joe Milton than against him, but if he's able to be as effective as he was in the Orange Bowl, they have no ceiling, okay? That's just the reality. Now, the thing that could handicap them, the thing that could be the Achilles heel for them, is that secondary has to improve, man. Secondary has to get better. Giving up 287 yards a game last year throwing the football. That's the difference right there, y'all. That is the difference. That was the South Carolina game to me. In the South Carolina game, it sounds like there were other things that were swirling around that program at the time, but still, the consistency on the back end has to be there. And they've got players. We've seen them do good things week in and week out. But can they consistently do that? Can that be who they are every single week? Because I saw you light it up against Kentucky, had something like 3 interceptions, really took a hit to Will Levis's draft stock in the South Carolina game happens. Like, can we get some consistency? Can we have an elevated threshold of what the floor of that secondary is? That's the key to me. Because they've got the talent. They've got a lot of pieces. Like I said, the offense, I wholeheartedly believe, will score points in Knoxville this coming year. But can the secondary improve? And can Joe Milton consistently be who he's shown us he is from that Orange Bowl? So for me, Tennessee went 11-2 last year, New Year's Six Bowl victory. Number 3 this year. Can they continue to improve? I'm excited to watch it. Now, the pushback is going to be, well, we beat Alabama. I 1,000% understand. I 100% agree. I'm not predicting you to lose to Alabama. But going into the spring, Alabama's at 2 for me. And all this comes down to for me is, do you want to bet against Nick Saban? The answer for me is no. New coordinators, new quarterback, a lot of newness, but Nick Saban is still the GOAT and still the head coach to Alabama. And if we know anything about Alabama, if we know anything about Nick Saban and the history of how they respond to multiple lost seasons, a lot of times, more often than not, it ends up being a national championship kind of year. Like, Alabama being in hunting mode is extremely scary, and that is what I wholeheartedly believe they are in right now. My personal feel on it is Nick Saban is just going to simplify the entire formula. No more Pete Golding, no more Bill O'Brien. Read into those departures as much as you want to, but you got Tommy Rees and Kevin Steele now as the new OC and DC. And I think it's going to be a simple formula. I think it's going to be Alabama's coming right at you. They still have the best, if not one of the best rosters, not just this conference, in America. Alabama is still Alabama, y'all. Like, you don't turn your back on a hungry dog. You don't turn your back on Alabama right now. I'm not betting against Saban. The roster alone, paired with Saban, puts them at number 2 for me. They're still going to have to prove it. And they're still going to have to show me that they have something at quarterback that can not replace Bryce Young, but just be sustainable going forward. The skill players also will have to take a step forward because last year it felt a lot like Bryce ball every other Saturday. Set Hut, number 9, do something for us, brother. Need you to make a play for us to win this football game. And he did a lot of the time. But can they, as a unit in this new offense, raise the bar back to what Alabama has been in the past? That's the key variable for me. Because the talent isn't the question. They recruit 5 stars about as well as anybody else in the country. Haven't been outside the top 2 in terms of recruiting class rankings since like dinosaurs roamed the earth. Since Nick Saban was in diapers. Like, it's been that long for Alabama. I'm exaggerating, but you feel what I'm saying. A lot of good players in Tuscaloosa, the best in the country. Can they put it together? It's the question mark. That's why they're at 2 for me. Behind who everybody probably has as the number 1 team in the SEC, if not the country, Georgia Bulldogs. Coach Kirby Smart and the 15-0 Dogs from 2022. Nick Brake and I were there to watch them just do ridiculous things to the TCU Horned Frogs in SoFi Stadium. Obviously, we all know what happened there, 65-7. My wife texted me during the game and said, "Are people laughing?" It was like second quarter and Georgia was just rolling, and I was like, no, but it's kind of an uncomfortable feeling right now based on what Georgia's doing. The Dogs are the team to beat. And that's probably underselling how dominant they've been the last 2 seasons. Going for a three-peat, they are very, very firmly the king of the hill. And they've got a lot of key pieces coming back. Brock Bowers, I've told you, I think he's going to be the best player in college football next year. Javon Bullard was the MVP defensively of that national title game. He is a heat-seeking missile, filling on the run. One of the best slot defenders in the entire country last year. Todd Monken, at the time of us being live right now, still the OC. Still got Will Muschamp and Glenn Schumann running the defense. Like, there's a lot of pieces in place to run it back. Now, the key piece, and it's funny to say this, Stetson Bennett, quarterback that you won 2 national titles with, no longer with you. Is it going to be Carson Beck, Brock Vandagriff? Gunnar Stockton has gotten a ton of love from the UGA faithful in our comment section, so we appreciate y'all for that, reminding us Gunnar Stockton's still that guy. It's going to be someone who is highly touted, highly recruited, a lot of ability. But the fact remains, they haven't done it without Stetson Bennett, which is funny for as much scrutiny as he got throughout his college career nationally, let alone in Athens. They got to do it without Stetson Bennett. Because in 2021, did they win it because of him? Probably not. Defense was sensational. In 2022, he took his game to a new level and cemented himself as a GOAT in Athens. Kirby Smart's words, not mine. So take it up with Coach Smart. If they do it again, if they're a three-peat, not only are they the king of the hill, I said this before earlier in the week, if they win it a 3rd time in a row, dynasty, history, all that, but they just put a fence around the college football mountaintop and start building real estate up there. Like, if they do it a 3rd time, that is the epitome of dominance. And so I don't know how you put them anywhere else besides number 1 in the country. Absolutely number 1 in the SEC power rankings for us. But it's going to be a dogfight. You and I know it. It's going to be a dogfight. So all 5 of these teams we will probably revisit after the spring, maybe during spring. It's going to be a lot of fun. So South Carolina at 5 for us, LSU at 4, Tennessee at 3, Bama at 2, the Georgia Bulldogs, defending national champions, at number 1 in our pre-spring SEC power rankings. Not predictions, but power rankings.